Hey everyone, I'm Lauren Moraski with HuffPost, and you're watching Build Series in New York City. Our next guest rose to fame as Mallory Keaton on Family Ties and went on to star in Men Behaving Badly and make appearances on Desperate Housewives, Californication, and Arrested Development. Producer, actress, and director Justine Bateman is now adding author to her resume. She joins me now to talk about her new book, Fame, The Hijacking of Reality. Please, everyone, welcome Justine Bateman.
Thank you.
So here we have the cover of your book right here. How does it feel now that it's out in the public and people can actually read it and buy it?
It's great. I mean, creatively, just visually, I'm so excited about the cover, and the cover's getting a lot of notice. The font is Lombok by Alexandra Pietra. He did a beautiful font. And my publishers, Akashic Books, just let me do whatever I wanted to do with the cover. So I'm really happy with it. And then inside, of course, the text is getting a lot of really good feedback and it's starting a lot of really good conversations about the topic.
I love it. And I love that you kick off the book by saying you did not want to do a memoir. You make that very clear, and you really wanted to really tackle the concept of fame. Why was it important for you not to do a memoir and really dig deep into this topic?
Well, I've never been interested in writing a memoir. You know, like it says in the book, I don't find the format to be very fascinating. But I do find the subject of fame to be fascinating, and for two reasons I started the book. One was I wanted to look at what that ephemeral mist was that sort of comes in a room, like if Brad Pitt walked in right now, everything would stop. Yeah. Everything we're doing, anything you're thinking in the audience here, and the camera would definitely go over there, you know.
Be like, who are those people?
So it changes everything when it enters. And you know, there's some that have long-lasting fame, like Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, people like that, and there's others for whom this glitter cloud sort of hovers over them for a while and then moves off. But while it's over you, that sort of thing will happen, and yet when it moves off of you, it won't. Yeah. So that used to be on me, and that used to happen, and that hasn't happened for many years, so I can walk in and that doesn't happen at all. So I wanted to look at what that thing was, and then also I wanted to look at, it seemed to me that around 2000, the obsession with fame in our society really exploded, and it coincided with a lot more media outlets needing material, so there was a perfect storm there. So that's why I started writing the book. That's what I wanted to look at, and the format, though, of the book is a very raw, emotional travel through the what I call the life cycle of fame. So that's the style of it, so the audience can really feel what it felt like in the beginning, the equilibrium, and then the end.
I like how you mentioned the year 2000 because being a turning point. Do you feel like we're also in a turning point now, or there was a second turning point with social media and everything that's just out there that the artist or the actor can actually put out for themselves or herself?
Yeah, that's a good point. I definitely go over that in the book. I mean, it was around 2006, 2007 that social media really did explode and start becoming integral in our lives. And I think it really amplified what had already begun, like with reality shows and all these sort of celebrities for unknown skills and talents, let's just say. I know they have, I firmly believe everybody has a basket of unique skills and talents, but for a lot of reality show contestants, I don't know what that is. I don't think it's yet been exploited, you know, or explored by the individual. Yeah. It's my personal opinion. So I think that the social media really amplified this obsession with celebrity and fame and really democratized it because everybody could get in on it. Everybody could get more followers, and for some it's turned into, you know, which is sort of can be a confusing element of this, is turned into a lucrative business, and yet still, where is the development of their skills and talents? Because when that attention or number of followers they have starts decreasing, they will have nothing substantial to kind of counter that with. So whatever they have attached to it, their self-esteem, their financial health, anything is going to, like, you know, hit the floor with it.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's an unstable world right now, and it's an interesting place to be. I like the way this is written too. You're really, like you said, I think you used the word raw. It's really raw. You feel like you're talking to us, like in a way, like you're there.
Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way. Yeah, that was the point. Yeah,
it's very cool. What writers were you inspired by?
Oh, I'm definitely, and I'm not comparing myself to them at all when I say these writers, but Michael Herr, who wrote Dispatches, which is about being, you know, in war, and the style of it. I've never been anywhere near war, but I feel like having read that book, I have a feel for what is going through your head while you're there. Yeah. Of course, Hunter S. Thompson, and even, you know, Herman Melville. I mean, he's one of my absolute favorite writers, and though his writing is a little more structured than the style that I did, just the tangents he would go off on, you know, like in Moby Dick about, you know, okay, we're on the ship, and then let me tell you all this stuff about whaling hooks, and it just goes on and on for pages, and sort of ignoring sentence structure in a lot of places, and I love that. I love that. I feel like if something's written in a particular fashion where, and it's true of films too, if you kind of know what's going to start, what's coming next, your brain sort of fills in and you're not as alert to what's coming next. But if I see a film, for example, that's a parallel universe, I don't know what's going to happen next. When they go into something that looks like a restaurant, I don't know what's going to happen in there. They're not just going to sit down and order food or anything like that. So I feel like books that sort of break that structure a bit, I feel like it makes me sit up and pay more attention to what I'm reading, and so that's part of the hope too.
You, in addition to the theory and the concepts surrounding fame, you really get personal in this book. When you look back at the time when you rose to fame, was there a moment when you thought, okay, I made it. This is the moment. I feel like I'm a celebrity now.
I think that can only happen, not only. I think the likelihood of that happening is greater if it's something that you sought or thought about for a long time beforehand, you know? I think that's with anything, you know? If suddenly you meet someone you want to marry, but you weren't really looking, and it's like, well, what do you want to do for your wedding? You're like, geez, I don't know. I haven't really been thinking about it, you know, versus somebody who's like, I've been planning this since I was 13. So it's similar to that, and I wasn't looking for it. I had no idea I was even going to get into acting. So it became, you know, you're sort of, you know, you get into this boat and you're kind of going down this river, you know, of fame, and then suddenly it just turns into these roaring rapids and you're like, oh my God. And so for me, and also because I was so young, it was just about managing myself in it, and it's just coming too fast and too hard all the time, and yeah.
Is there anything that you miss about that time?
Well, I don't know. I was going to say, you know, professional opportunities, but I have so many great professional opportunities right now as a writer, director, producer and as an author, like I'm so happy right now with everything that's happening. I've got 2 shorts that are on AOL Prime right now. One's a comedy called 5 Minutes, and the other's a drama called Push. And I'm about to direct a film that I wrote called Violet with Olivia Munn and Justin Theroux. So I'm just like beyond. I'm so no.
Yeah,
I can't say.
Well,
I can't say that there's. It's a really trippy experience. It's you know, and this subtitle of Hijacking Reality. The point I'm making it is this happens for such a small subset of people, but it's relatable in this sense that you know, for all of us, we have a certain reality where we live, what language we speak, what job we have, who our parents are, sisters and brothers, whatever. And if any one of those items were to be removed, it's hugely traumatic, right? Yeah. So, because it's become part of our reality. And for a tiny subset of people, fame comes in and sort of inundates everything, like pouring water over a dry flower bed. It just is going to go into everything, right? So when it starts leaving, it's got sort of tethers into lots of things, especially things that have to do with how you feel about yourself or how you feel about where you sit in society. And so when it starts leaving, you have to start unhooking those things, and that's what I call post-fame. You know, when the fame's going away, which isn't talked about very much. So I go into how I unhooked stuff, you know, and you know, maybe that can be the way in which I did it. Maybe can be a help for other people who are needing to unhook something that's leaving their reality, you know?
Right, no matter what it is.
No matter what.
Yeah. That post-fame, was that something that was challenging, or was it sort of a sense of relief for you?
No, it's totally challenging.
Yeah.
It was totally challenging. And I know, you know, and I say in the book, like, oh, I know there's going to be some people that, and in fact, they've said so on Twitter, oh, poor baby, you know, oh, you poor little rich baby or something like that, which is like, it's like, first of all, yeah, just because you were once famous doesn't mean, the money I made while I was doing Family Ties over 30 years ago, I wish that was a job, like a government job, where when you retire, you keep getting that check. I mean, no.
Right.
But anyway, I'm not complaining. Everything's terrific. But I'm just saying there's that assumption that. But the point I make in the book is what I spoke about just before. It's more about this thing that was foundational to your reality is being yanked out.
Yeah.
You know, be like somebody who grew up in a particular setting. You know, maybe their father loses their job or something, and they go, well, we're going to have to move to another city. We're downsizing. We're going to live in an apartment now. You're going to have completely different friends. You know, and it's just, it's very jarring. And every time I got my certain buttons pushed, I would have to, my process that I go write about it and go find out what the root fear is of that, so that I can be in that similar situation again, have the same thing said again, but hopefully by getting to the root fear, hopefully I've removed the button. Because it wasn't that I wanted everyone to change their behavior around me. I wanted to just become bulletproof so that everyone's behavior stayed the same. But I had removed my buttons by getting to the root fear of why I reacted.
You also have a brother who's famous, Justine Bateman. What's his relationship with fame from your perspective? Is it different from yours?
I mean, I'm not going to speak for him, but I will tell you what it looks like to me. You know, Jason started acting a year before me, and he became a semi-regular on Little House on the Prairie. And then he had series after series, and TV movies, and worked a lot. But I happened to get on a show that just went straight to the moon, right? I mean, to put it in perspective for people that didn't see Family Ties, because we had a highly concentrated audiences, it wasn't fractured with. We didn't have 500 cable channels. We didn't have the internet, not in a consumer-facing way. And we would get, like, at our height, when we had this unbeatable Thursday night, must-see TV was where that term came from. We would have 55 million people watching us every night. And you can only get those numbers with the Super Bowl or something like that now. So that's how high the fame got. So with Jason, though, he did that, and then he did, everybody knows this story, he did Arrested Development, and then all these great films and everything, and he was directing here and there within that time. And from my perspective, he did something very smart with this slow burn kind of fame the way in which he attained his, is he took that fame currency and he invested it back into professionally. So he set himself up with development deals and things like this, and and now he has this I know you guys have probably watched Ozark. He has this company that does these productions, and for me, I had some opportunities like that, but I was too young, because of the fame. Yeah. But I was too young to understand that this was currency that I could use professionally, that could be planted and then be harvested later. Yep. It's fine. I don't regret anything, but just to compare, Jason's been really, really smart with his.
Yeah. It's interesting just to see the perspective and seeing how you look at it and watching from afar and vice versa, I'm sure. With Family Ties, I was one of those people tuning into the show every week, and in the reruns as well, in the 90s. That's the type of show when I was thinking about talking to you today, I've been thinking about the political climate, because the political climate of that show was a real driving force, with Alex being the Republican and the rest of the family being a little bit more liberal. Yeah. What would the Keatons be? What kind of show would that be like now in the political climate today?
Well, my personal feeling about reboots is I'm very against it. I feel sort of bad for this generation. I feel bad for the pop culture of this generation, because I feel like they're getting a lot of retread. Yeah. A lot of just kind of digested and vomited stuff from, our teens and 20s and all of that. And I think that's a shame, there's a lot of new stuff too, of course, but I feel like the reboots and the sequels and everything has just gone really overboard now. And they're not even reimaginings, they're just, and it makes sense to me that there'd be a lot of comfort food programming now, because things feel so in flux and people want that sort of comfort. And I understand that, but I don't think it's the right way to go. So I'm 100% against any Family Ties reboot. But if somebody did a new show that within a family had conflicting political views, that'd be great.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But Family Ties for me is like strictly 80s. It's like it was from the beginning of the 80s to the end of the 80s, and it was very specific to that time. Ronald Reagan was president. It was, you know, it's different.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. And it was the type of thing for you, I think you wrote it in your acknowledgments, that you said it was like a happenstance, like you weren't even supposed to get that audition. Is that the
Oh,
case?
yeah. I had an agent, Tracy Jacobs, who's a partner at a big entertainment, big talent agency now. And she had just come from advertising, and she had nothing to lose. So the rule was the kids in this agency had to go out they had to do like 15 commercials or something before you'd send them out on a theatrical audition, like for a television show or something, right? And a non-commercial. And I had only done 2 commercials. So within 4 months, I'd done 2 commercials. And then she was like, screw it. She just sent me out, and I got it. So within 4 months, I had 2 commercials and the pilot, the first show of Family Ties, and that was it.
And then you were just thrown into it, and sensation right away. It's back to the fame theme of this whole thing.
Yeah.
But not everyone may know this, but in your late 40s, you went back to UCLA. You went to UCLA to study and get your degree. What was behind that choice?
Well, okay, so I got Family Ties when I was 16, so I couldn't go to college, though I had to be informed of this. I didn't even really understand that I couldn't just go. So that's a whole other story. But I didn't go then, and then I, kept working a lot after Family Ties. And anyway, so at 46, I would say 5 years prior to that, I'd gotten into writing and producing in the digital space. And just felt like that's what I was born for, and still do. So I'd write the scripts, I'd put together proposals, and I would meet with, different tech people and put together a distribution plan, all this sort of thing. And then I kept hearing, you're 4 years ahead, you're 4 years ahead. And I was like, what? Like in 2007, this is going to sound funny, I was going around pitching full-length shows for the internet. And people were like, what? You're crazy. Yeah. No one's going to watch more than 3 minutes. And I was like, no. 3 minutes is a technical restriction on YouTube. Like at the time, there was a technical restriction. You couldn't upload anything more than 3 minutes. And I said, that's not what we have to do. There's other places we can distribute, and we can send out 3-minute chunks of it too. Anyway, long story short, after 5 years of doing that, and then finally getting to a point where I took a meeting with a company that said, we want to hear what scripts you have and all this, and I started talking about what I was interested in at that point, and they're like, well, here's what we're looking for, and they started pitching to me the things I had been pitching in 2007, and I was like, okay, right. I can't keep doing this. So I decided, I'm going to go get a computer science degree. And because a lot of my projects are layered, they combine technology and entertainment. The ones that are coming after I finish this film, that's the plan. We'll see if it goes that way. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go get a computer science degree and just circumnavigate the sort of path I was attempting. And I'll just circumnavigate that and just get these projects done myself. And thank God I only applied to one school, UCLA. Thank God I got in. I mean, I thought, well, anyway, I had plan B and plan C, but it was a fantastic experience. That's going to be my 3rd book.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you're thinking about other books. It seems like you are.
I'm doing a 2nd book about how women's faces change in the public eye, women's faces getting older in the public eye, and why it makes the public so angry.
Wow.
And also gets into this sort of assumed shame that any women, whether they are in the public eye or not, that any women are almost supposed to adopt as their faces get older. They're supposed to sort of, not, eyes downcast and, sort of adopt this certain degree of shame. And so anyway, and it's going to be a very different format than this book, but I've been talking with a lot of different women and getting all these different stories, and man, it gives me chills. That's such a good topic. I love it. Because I talk about it in the book, I've been really attacked for my face, and I'm like, can I cuss on here?
Yeah, it's the web,
I'm like, fuck it. I look great. In fact, I always wanted to look like this. I always wanted to have lines here and skin sort of my neck is getting loose skin here and stuff. And I always wanted that because I feel like that's, no offense to anyone who's got, like yourself, it has smooth skin and all this. But I just think this is so much more interesting. Like, if you see my face, you know what you're going to get. Yeah. You know, I don't have to like take the time to like inform you that I'm interesting and complex. Like, you already hear it, you know, when I stand in front of you, I'm interesting and complex. At least that's what I tell myself. So don't tell me otherwise.
No, I love this. Well, I love the concept of this book because this is something that keeps coming up, Hollywood and women and like the pressure that many women in Hollywood and everyone faces.
Yeah, like you're supposed to feel
older.
bad if your face is looking older, and then if you do some plastic surgery, then you're supposed to feel bad that you got the plastic surgery, and the whole thing's just fucked up, you know?
Yeah.
And then the third one will be about the college experience, because I kept a blog during that time, so I'll just adapt that blog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, this is exciting, good stuff. I mean, how long did it take you to write this, and do you think it'll take that long to write the second book that you're working on?
For me, I don't know if this is the same for other people, but when I make something, whether it's like I used to make a lot of collages, you know, just for fun, or whenever I write, I let things bake for a while, and then when they're ready to come out of the oven, like the timer goes off, then I can write it really quickly. So I take a lot of notes, think about it. So this one, I started taking notes, let's say they were like 2 years, but I was going to school at the time, so I couldn't work on it during the school year, only during the summers, and just a little bit, but I would take notes. I would make notes. And then when I graduated in 2016, I wrote, took me a few months to write an academic version, which is what I started writing, and then when I got halfway through that, I realized it needed to be a different style. So the style that you read that got published that took me 3 weeks. I just did nothing but write the book for 3 weeks. And so I give you the long answer because I don't want people to go like, oh, she's popped this off in 3 weeks. Like, yeah, but you know, like I really worked on it for like 2 years, and then when it was time to take it out of the oven, it only took 3 weeks to get it onto the table. You know what I'm saying?
And it's gotten a lot of praise. You have a lot of other friends in the industry. Michael J. Fox is one of the people who gave you a little thumbs up. I mean, it seems like you still stay in touch with that cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ernest Cline.
Yeah, you got like a lot of great names.
Yeah, well, I got some beautiful blurbs from people, and from some people who's writing, like Mary Louise Parker, the actress, has a book. I mean, actress and writer has a book called Dear Mr. You. It came out a couple of years ago, and I really encourage people to get it. It gives me chills again. Her writing is so beautiful. I mean, it's not common that somebody who's that good at one thing would be that good at something else. So I encourage people to get Dear Mr. You by Mary Louise Parker, and she wrote a beautiful blurb for the book too.
Great. All right. Well, we have some good questions from the crowd here, so let's get to it. So who's first? Right here, right in front row.
Big fan from
Thank you.
your Family Ties days and onward. Wanted to ask you, do you cover in your book the trajectory of fame with your Family Ties co-stars? Because some went on, like Michael J. Fox, to tremendous fame.
Yeah.
And Tina Yothers, different type of work.
I hear what you're saying. I don't get into that very specifically, but I do touch on the fact that it was great to have Michael there at the same time, because his fame, you know, it was happening at the same time, but his fame was always bigger than mine. And so it was nice to have a sort of mentor, sort of, I mean, whether he knew it or not, like a fame mentor for me, you know? And no matter how bad it got for me, like, you know, you're mobbed in a mall or something like this, I'd always tell myself, Mike's got it worse, you know? So, yeah.
Thanks for that question. Who's next? Right there.
Hi. I was wondering what moment, if any, for you did you realize, like in pop culture, did you realize that fame was kind of, this concept of fame and you know, how it affects celebrities had spiraled out of control?
Yeah, I think it was around 2000, you know, where I saw it happening. Like I said, when I was very famous, though the fame was very high and very strong, there weren't that many outlets. We had like, I had right in the book, you know, I break down the whole thing, but there was like Entertainment Tonight, Access Hollywood. We had the Showbiz Minute on CNN that really was a minute. We didn't have E! Channel, so there's no 24 hours of entertainment, and we had far fewer magazines that covered this sort of thing. And we didn't have you know, not a consumer-facing internet, really. So there weren't that many outlets for it. And I think, around 2000, when you had so many more outlets, they needed to fill the pages. There were only so many famous actors or musicians. It started there, and reality shows started there too. So everybody's like, oh, great, we got, we can put someone who's had 8 kids on the cover because, we can't get, a famous actor this week or whatever. So that all started there, and then there was just no putting the cat back in the bag or whatever the term is. Yeah.
No going back.
No going back. And then social media then is, made it even stronger. But my hope is when people read the book that I hope that people can start, because it's an individual thing, how you're going to feel about fame. And I hope that people can start, thanks for that question. I hope people can start putting it back in perspective for themselves. Like Rainn Wilson was telling me this good analogy. When you think about people being famous, there's a lot of participants in that. It's not the person themselves going, saying, I'm famous. It's everyone reacting to it, right? So he was telling me when he had his Shakespearean studies in theater school, and when it came time to play King, the students asked the professor, like, well, what do we do here? Do we stand more regally or not pay attention to people or something? And he goes, you do nothing. It's all about what all the other people are doing around you. And so if we as participants in this fame, it's one thing to admire somebody's work. To me, that's a separate kind of fame. Like if, Paul Thomas Anderson came in right now, I'd be like, wow, this is really rad. This is, I love his work so much. To me, that's like my spirit recognizing something that moved me. But the frenzied kind of somebody walks in whose work I don't even really think about, but they are very, very famous, and still it's going to change the temperature in this room. That kind of fame, I hope we can start putting in perspective and really valuing ourselves again and what we do for a living, like the Jeffrey Owens story that happened recently of people trying to shame him because he had a job at Trader Joe's. You just go, well, here's this intelligent, talented man, happens to have this job, which frankly is going to make him a better actor, the more experience you have with anything. And to shame him for that and it really touched a nerve with the public. I think people were pretty outraged that the other people were trying to mock him for that. So I hope we can get back to that, because I feel like we had that, prior to 2000. I hope we can appreciate ourselves and appreciate each other more, regardless of how many goddamn followers we have.
I think that's a great place to end this interview and chat. And thanks for that great question. The book is out now.
Yes.
Justine Bateman, give it up one more time. It's called Fame.
Thanks, guys.